Hello, folks. This is Bela. Our regular listeners and viewers will know that we've been doing an extended series of episodes that chronicle the trip that Mike Malekoff and I made in moving his boat from Brunswick, Georgia, to Burlington, Vermont. And this was took us almost 30 days to do that. And we made almost one episode every day. Actually made a total of 23 recordings that I have been slowly processing and editing and putting up and posting to our channel. And I've been doing about one a week. Well, 23 episodes doing one a week, that's like 23 weeks. It's like half a year. And in the meantime, there's been a couple of other interviews that we've done with some guests. And so what we decided to do was keep doing the Brunswick, Georgia to Burlington, Vermont trip, releasing those episodes one a week. But when I get a new episode with a new guest that I'm recording in the meantime, I'm going to interlace those or introduce them also on an alternate day, but sort of in between the Mike Malekoff episodes. So some weeks you're going to end up seeing two episodes come out. And hopefully once we get through all of the Brunswick, Georgia to Burlington, Vermont episodes, we will get then back to our regular format of episodes where Mike Wasserman and I interview people, we make some commentary, and that's sort of our regular format. But I was fortunate enough to go on this trip with Mike Malekoff, and I thought it'd be important to chronicle those into some pretty good episodes. So hope this is one of those interlaced episodes with a quote-unquote regular guest. Hope you enjoy the episode. Thank you. Hello, and welcome to the Sailing and Cruising the East Coast of the United States podcast. I'm Bela Musits.
And I'm Mike Wasserman.
Hey, Mike. Today's guest on the podcast is Bob Lattanzio. He has an interesting sailing background, and he currently sails on Long Island Sound, which is a great place to sail, and is the Commodore of the Baldwin Yacht Club. Commodore, Mike, means like the head guy that's in charge.
This sounds cool.
Yeah. So, and the Baldwin Yacht Club has some unique elements to it, which also makes it super interesting. He's also been crew on several yacht deliveries. And we just had a great conversation about everything sailing.
Nice, Bela. And I think we haven't talked much about Long Island Sound on this podcast. So I think it's cool to dig a little bit deeper to this part of the Northeast. I haven't been there in a long time. So I did a quick look at the map to kind of refamiliarize myself with the geography. And listeners who aren't familiar with this part of the Northeast might want to do that real quickly before we start. But listeners will definitely want to keep an ear open for some interesting ways to jump on a cool boat as crew. And listen out for an interesting discussion on sails. And in general, get to know a really interesting sailor. So what do you think, Bela?
That's a good summary there, Mike, of what we talked about. So let's dive right into my conversation with Bob. Hi, Bob. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Bela. Thanks for having me. This is a real treat.
Yeah, it's so nice to have you here. You reached out to me numerous times via email asking some questions. It turns out we share sister ships, as they say. Right. And we've helped each other out on a few occasions when we've had some difficulties that we couldn't figure out. But I'd like to start out by sort of having you talk a little bit about how you got started in sailing. I always think that's interesting.
Well, I was in my early 20s and I was sitting by this lake and I saw a sunfish zipping around. And I said, oh, that looks like fun. So I went down to my local boat store and to buy a sunfish. And the guy convinced me to buy a different boat. It was a Colibri. It's a German-made little 12-foot sloop. So I bought that, and I trailered that around Cape Cod area, and had a lot of fun with that. And then I got, the itch for a bigger boat.
Yeah.
And I bought a 1967 Columbia Contender, which is 24 foot. And that was a great solid boat. I kept that on a mooring in Bourne on the Cape, and I had that for many years and traveled all around down to the Cuttyhunk and the Vineyard in Nantucket. I had a lot of fun with that boat. And, Buzzards Bay can get pretty rough. And I recall sometimes surfing the waves on that boat, heading north with the southwest wind behind me, surfing. And I had my brother with me who was not a sailor at all. And he was like freaking out, but we had a lot of fun. Had a lot of fun with that boat. And
it always amazes me how scared you can get going 6 miles an hour.
And I said, John, you got to go up and take the jib down, and the waves are. He's like, what? And of course, it was the Hank-on jib. It wasn't the roller furling.
Yeah.
Back then, So that was fun.
Yeah.
Good memories. And so I sold that boat in 1980, and I got married in 1980. Then I didn't have a boat for like 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I bought a Cal 31 in 2010. Yeah. And my wife and I sailed that for 10 years. We had a lot of fun with that. All over everywhere you can reach in a weekend around from southeastern Connecticut. We hit all the spots. Block Island, Long Island, even the Cape, Cuttyhunk, as far as Boston. So we had a lot of fun with that boat. Yeah, and then then I got the itch for an even bigger boat, and we started looking around. And I had the same criteria that you had, that you mentioned in your episode. I don't recall the episode number, but when I heard that episode, I was like, wow, this guy's just like us, And so we settled on the Hunter 45. At first, I thought it was too big. I thought it was too expensive, but my wife kept elbowing me. She said, this is what I want. This is what I want. It had the big queen size bed. You can walk around. And the air conditioning and all the goodies. So, so we bought that, and that turned out to be great.
Yeah. It's interesting how we both ended up with the same boat, and we're both sort of in a similar phase in our lives, and it's interesting how what you want in a boat evolves with time. As I've noticed, as my abilities to jump off the boat onto the dock, that I was able to jump off 5 feet, high. Now it's like, anything more than 1.5 feet, I'm not jumping. So that changes, right? That changes what you look for in a boat. That changes the types of things you want. And I think that's important to recognize that does evolve with time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Hunter has a high freeboard, and the first time I pulled up to a gas dock, it was like 4 or 5 feet down. So I think I need a ladder. But
exactly.
Yeah. So that boat's been great. We have a lot of. It's great for entertaining. It's a big cockpit. We can fit a lot of people up there, and it sails well. It sails great.
Yep.
I have a spinnaker. Do you have a spinnaker?
I do not.
Yeah.
I do not. I just have the normal, I think it's a 110 jib and the main. I just got new sails this year.
You mentioned.
So my beginning of last season, the top part of my jib ripped where the bolt, that goes into the foil. The top part of that ripped. I had that repaired, and then about two-thirds of the way through the season, my mainsail ripped. The trailing edge of the mainsail had a big rip in it. So I took it into a sail maker, and he said, yeah, I can fix it. He goes, but it's not going to last. So I bit the bullet, and I ordered some new sails, and they've been great. They're nice, new and crisp. And when you do a tack, they just snap into place. and the mainsail now rolls up much nicer. I was starting to have some challenges, furling and unfurling the mainsail out of the mast. And now the new one just rolls up just like the jib.
Yeah, that's great. I've had trouble rolling it in. Now, the old mainsail had the battens, vertical battens?
It did. It had long vertical battens. This new one has some vertical battens, but they're only about 4 or 5 feet long, and they're just along the trailing edge of the sail. Okay. So, there's one, I'll say I think there's 4 of them. So there's one a quarter of the way back from the mast, but it starts at the top of the sail and comes down. So then they're staggered like that. So they're all just 4 feet long, and they're flat. The ones that I had in my original sails were round, and they were almost as big as diameter as my pinky. So
they were round?
Yeah, they were round. Yeah, they were round battens. And so it really took up a lot of space as well in the mast, when you roll them up. These are flat. So I got Quantum sails.
Yep.
Is the brand from a local sail maker in Bristol, who makes the sails right there. You go into his shop and he's got the big basketball stadium size floor, and the people are cutting sails, and he's been great. Thurston Sails, I'll give him a plug. Thurston Sails is the place I got him from. And so far I've been very, very happy, both with the service I've gotten. They came out and they installed the sails to make sure everything fit, and make sure everything worked good. So that was all good. And the boat sail's nice now. Yeah, it's really nice.
Yes, I had my battens. I had the sailmaker look at it, and he said, "Just take the battens out." So yeah. He took them out, undid the pockets, and trimmed the leech so it won't flap. And I'm going to try it now this season, see how that works.
Yeah,
because I constantly getting jammed in the mast.
Yeah,
hopefully that works.
Yeah, and I've read all sorts of different things, and when the sailmaker came out and installed the sails, he told me a couple things that I wasn't doing as he recommended. Which was, number one, he goes, leave the main sheet loose when you're furling and unfurling, and leave your vang loose when you're furling and unfurling. So in essence, let the boom move around and float, and let the sail figure out where it needs to go. He goes, the sail will know where to go. And he goes, where you screw things up is by, if you're pointing into the wind, you're trying to get your boom not to be flapping back and forth. So you tighten the main sheet. He goes, when you tighten the main sheet, that pulls down on the boom.
Yeah.
And when you pull down on the boom, it pulls the sail in a certain shape, which is not its natural shape. And when you're rolling it up, that's when you tend to get the creases, and the top of the sail that's going into the mast tends to fold over. So I've followed that the few times I've been out, and it's worked great. So
good.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, I've watched other people furl their mains, and I say, gee, theirs work so easily. Mine doesn't. Why can't I do that? But
yeah,
there's tricks.
There are tricks. There are tricks. And, the great thing about the internet is there's a lot of information on it. And the bad thing about the internet is there's a lot of incorrect information on it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, so you're in Mystic. That's where your boat is, I think?
Yes.
Mystic, Connecticut. So you've sailed a lot around Long Island Sound, I imagine. Can you kind of talk about some of the nice places to go in Long Island Sound? Sort of what are your, top 3 favorite places to go, or just some of the highlights?
We like going over into Gardiner's Bay, which is between the North Fork of Long Island and Plum Island. And It's really nice. Sometimes you get a good breeze and the water's flat, and there are a lot of different places to go. We go to Montauk. We've been there often. We go to 3 Mile Harbor. We just went this past weekend. They had the fireworks there.
Mm.
And then you can go to Sag Harbor, which is nice. And you can actually sail all around Shelter Island if you want. We go to Greenport, and Deering Harbor, which is Shelter Island, where the Shelter Island Yacht Club is. You can stay there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole bunch of places over there, and
yeah,
it's nice.
So Mystic, when you look at Mystic east to west, are you about halfway out on, are you sort of near the center point of Long Island Sound, or are you a little more towards the east part of it?
Yeah, we're pretty much towards the eastern end.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's, I believe, approximately 100 miles to New York. So, yeah, we're pretty close to the eastern end.
So those places you mentioned, they're all within like a day sail for you?
Oh, yeah. They're all 3, 4, 5 hours away.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And,
okay.
The Montauk is nice. It's, there's not a lot of easy places to stay. Most people go into the lake they call Montauk Lake, and you go all the way down to the far end, and there's an anchorage. There's nothing much there, but you can take your dinghy ashore, and you can walk to the beaches, which are beautiful. Or you could take an Uber or something into town, which is fun.
Yeah.
And
yeah, and for those people who don't know, Montauk's at the very eastern tip of Long Island.
Yes. Yep.
Yep. And Bob, what are there some good resources that are available for people who might be interested in learning more about these various different places? What do you use to sort of get the knowledge of, okay, we should go check this place out. Here's a good anchorage. What tools do you use?
Oh, there's a website. I forget, the Cruisers Forum, I think it's called.
Okay.
And they have people write in with all their knowledge about different places. And so a lot of the information is old, but it's still relevant.
Yes.
And that's a good resource. And of course, guidebooks. I don't know if people still use the guidebooks like they used to, but there's all kinds of information out there.
Yeah. Do you use you have a chart plotter on your boat, I imagine, and do you use like an iPad also or a phone as well?
Yes, I do. I keep my my phone right at the helm, and the chart plotter is great. Mine is in the center on the table, and it's great, but you got to kind of lean over and look at it. The phone, I find, is hard to beat. Navionics, Is
that what you use on the phone, is Navionics?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Very nice. Very nice. So when we were chatting before we started recording, you said that you've also done a fair number of deliveries as a crew person on deliveries. Can you talk about those a little bit? Because I think that's a wonderful way for people to get experience.
Well, yeah, I'll tell you how I came about doing that. When I was shopping for my boat, the Hunter, a year or so before that, I used to get out of work and I used to just walk around the marinas. I used to just love to look at boats in the boat yards and the marinas. And I was at the Mystic Shipyard, actually, where I found my boat. And I saw this boat at the far dock that I didn't recognize. I was pretty good at identifying boats from a distance. And I saw this boat, and I said, what is that? I've never seen that before. So I went over there, and come to find out it was in Elan. I don't know if you're familiar with Elans now. They're made in Slovenia, I think. Mm-hmm. They're gaining popularity here. So it was this Elan 45. And there was a woman there. She was loading up the boat for a trip. And I said, what kind of boat is that? So she told me, and she invited me on and showed me around. It was beautiful. It's very European, very modern. Yes. That down below, really nice. So I said, so where are you going? She says, oh, we're taking this boat down to the Annapolis Boat Show. And I said, oh, really? And I said, well, how do you get it there? She says, oh, we hire a captain. And I said, oh, okay. And I said, do you think he needs any help? So she gave me his name and number, and I called him, and he said, yeah. He said, meet me there. But actually, it was the return trip, Annapolis back to Mystic, that he needed help with.
Okay.
So my wife drove me down, met him at the dock. He didn't know me from Adam, It was like 5 minutes, jumped on the boat, let's go. So we did. And it was him and another guy. And I actually brought along a friend of mine. So there were 4 of us. And it was great. Sailing up the Chesapeake, through the canal and so forth. And then we went outside. We sailed overnight outside around Montauk and into Mystic. So that's fantastic. And and then there was that trip, and then there was another one where he went the opposite direction. This brand new Elan GT5 was like a sport model. It was 44-ish feet, I forget. Beautiful, brand spanking new boat. And so we took that down to Annapolis, and we get out into the Long Island Sound, and he hands me the wheel and says, I'm going to take a nap. Take it. And I was like, okay. So straight down Long Island Sound until we got to New York. Then he took it over. But that was great. And I got to stay on the boat for a week at the boat show down in Annapolis, and it was great.
Oh, wow. So you got to go to the boat show and the whole thing.
So I got my transportation and my room and board, and it was good.
Yeah. So what sort of, you've done it twice. So what's sort of the typical financial arrangement on when, you're helping a captain move a boat?
Well, obviously he gets paid. He didn't pay me. I didn't get any payment in any way, but if we went out to dinner, he usually covered that. Okay. That's the only compensation, but that was fine. I didn't expect any more. I didn't have to chip in for fuel or anything like that.
Right.
So, yeah.
So he covers all the boat expenses.
Yeah.
If you guys, and does he cover provisioning the boat then? Well, did he buy the food for the boat?
Yeah, he was great. Yeah. He would go to the supermarket, come back with tons of food, and
yes.
And he was a good cook too. So
yeah. Yeah, I can imagine that if you get a good captain, it's great, and if you get a crummy one, it's probably awful.
Yeah, and there was one more delivery from Palmetto, Florida, which is on the west side, down through Marathon in the Keys, and up to Baltimore. That was a big one. That was 11 days, and that was. There were 3 of us initially, but the owner had to leave due to a death in the family. And so for most of the trip, it was just the 2 of us, 4 hours on, 4 hours off. It was kind of grueling, actually.
Yeah.
And it was cold and very rough out there that time of year.
And I, the trips that I've done, they've always been sort of leisure trips, the passages I've done. So if the weather's not great, we'll sit someplace for a day or 2. But I imagine captains are sort of on a schedule. They want to move. So there's a little less flexibility in sort of the schedule. Did you experience that as well?
Yeah, we stayed in Marathon for 2 days, actually, which was nice, a nice break. And then we went outside and we went to, then we went up the ICW to, we went outside, then we went up to St. Augustine. We went into St. Augustine for 1 day and back out again, and then straight to Baltimore. So there were 2 overnights, 2 stops. Yeah, which were good. Yeah.
Yeah. And how did you find that trip?
It was the same captain, the same fellow.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. All 3 trips were the same guy. I'll give you his name if you want. His name is Blaine Parks. You can look him up if anyone's interested in a good delivery captain.
Yeah, that's a good tip. That's a good tip. I found that on the passages I've done some with 2 people and I've done some with 3, and I find the 3 crew to work well because we typically would do 3 on, 6 off, and that I can do that continuously, right? I can do that for a week if I have to. But when there was two of us, we would do, as you guys did, 4 on, 4 off. And I just got cranky after a day and a half.
Yeah. When you get that tap on the shoulder at 2 a.m., it's like, oh,
Yes.
do I have to?
Right.
But,
yeah. So I like three crew opportunities, not two. I just find that, I mean, for 24 hours or 2 days, you can power through it. I mean, that's fine. But for anything longer than that, I find it to be a real challenge. Excellent. So now the other thing I want to talk about is you're Commodore of a yacht club. Why, that sounds like, there should be bells and whistles and explosions and fireworks. But I want to talk about yacht clubs in general, because the one you're associated with, the Baldwin Yacht Club, is sort of unique. So talk about that a little bit.
Well, I got some facts I wrote down here. They're actually 77 years old, this club. They were founded in 1948 by some senator named Baldwin.
Okay.
They're a member of the Eastern Connecticut Sailing Association. At one time, they did have a physical clubhouse, but for the longest time, it's been virtual. There is no meeting place per se. So they're very organized. They have a full board of governors and rear admiral, rear commodore, vice commodore, commodore, secretary, treasurer, the whole thing. And they've really got it together. They own a handful of moorings. That's the main draw to the club for people to join, is they get free moorings for being a member, and the membership dues are reasonable, $230 a year, I believe. And you get moorings at Fisher's Island, Block Island, Montauk, Mason's Island, Old Saybrook, Hamburg Cove, and Stonington. So that's really nice to have. And we have lots of social events and our annual 2-week cruise. This year they're going east towards the Cape, towards Cuttyhunk, the Vineyard, Nantucket, and back. So that's the biggest event of the season. And last year we went to New York City, which was different. That was a lot of fun, and a lot of new stops going west that I had never been to before. Northport, can't even think, Larchmont, just a bunch of new places.
Yeah.
So going towards the city, we stayed on the north shore of Long Island marinas, and on the way back we did the Connecticut side coming back up. So it was a lot of fun. It was good. So what else can I tell you about them? We have about 220 members. The boats are about 50-50 sail and power. And we just have a lot of fun. We have another big event is the commissioning weekend. We have Mystic Seaport. We sort of take over Mystic Seaport. They give us all their docks, and we usually have maybe 20-30 boats, and they give us the run of the seaport, and we have a lot of events over there.
Wow.
Really nice. So
if someone says, "Ooh, this sounds interesting," how do they get in contact? How do they reach out?
You can just Google Baldwin Yacht Club, and there's all sorts of links to get started.
Okay.
Someone will give them a call back or an email back.
Yeah. Do you have a limit on the size of the members, or is that pretty flexible?
No, we've never had to worry about having too many members. Right now, membership is a little bit down. We're trying to find new members.
Okay.
So the 200, maybe tops 300 would be a good number for us. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Very nice. And do you have to have a boat to join the yacht club?
Yes, you do. That's
Okay.
a stipulation, yeah. Or be a partner with someone who has a boat,
Okay.
or a spouse, of course.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. So,
Yep.
yeah.
Okay. Because I know there's some yacht clubs you can join where you don't even have to have a boat, but you're sort of interested in crewing or helping out on events and stuff. Do you guys also have races? So a lot of yacht clubs, will have Wednesday night races or Thursday night races or the weekends or something like that.
Yeah, we do. We have 3 or 4 races a year. One in Stonington, and then we just got canceled due to weather this year. And then we have another one, we call it the Vixen Ledge, which is a collaboration with us and the Shannecosit Yacht Club in Groton. We get together with them. And then we have one later in the summer, the Fisher's Island race. And then when we're out on a cruise, we have point-to-point races. We all travel, to and from the same place. So yeah, so we do some like that. That's not the main focus of the club, but yeah, we do some racing.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. And does the club, some clubs also provide instructions or have a program for kids, maybe a week-long sailing camp or something like that? Do you guys do anything like that?
No, we don't do anything with the kids, but we do have volunteers who would be willing to help new sailors to go out with them if they'd like. We don't do that.
Yeah. So. And I imagine it's a great resource, right? Because you have 200 people who are all into boating, and you can ask questions about good places to go. You can get tips about various different, techniques for your boat. I had a question on the moorings. You said the club owns several moorings at several different locations. When you're a club member like that, how does do you reserve a mooring? How does that work?
Well, we have a computer program. We have a fellow who's fantastic with creating programs. It's a login system. You can log in and you can see if there's anyone on the mooring. And at the same time, you can't reserve it, but as soon as you get there, you go online and tell them that you're on the mooring. So anyone else will know that it's being used. Yeah. So on most moorings, we can tie up 3 boats. So
oh wow. So you can raft up. Yeah.
It's especially at Block Island, which is so popular. That's always in demand. And so you can see if anyone's on it, and once you get there, you just identify yourself as being on it, and we can use it up to, I think, 7 days, which is good at a stretch.
7 continuous days.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yep.
That's pretty good. So let's see. If you're in Mystic, if you go to Block Island, you have to go through what people call the races, I think, right? Which is
no.
You don't.
We would go. You can. It's a little longer. We typically just go bang a left and go through Watch Hill Passage.
Okay.
Or there are some other small passages at the tip of Fisher's Island.
Okay.
There's a few openings that save a few miles.
Got it.
But I typically just go straight through Watch Hill Passage.
And the reason I'm asking is you got to be cognizant of the tidal currents there, I would imagine, when you're going through. So there's some timing involved. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. Especially Watch Hill Passage, which runs really strong. You wouldn't want to be there when the tide is going one way and the wind is going the other.
Right.
But
right.
Typically in Long Island, the current runs 2.5 knots, maybe, pretty much the whole length of Long Island Sound. So you just have to, it makes a big difference if you're taking a long trip, bucking the current versus riding the current, So current, well, for sailors, current is always a concern. The motorboaters, they don't seem to care much about
it. Right.
But yeah, and the current in the race can be very strong too. That's if we're going if we're going to Long Island, we go through the race.
Yeah. So it's even stronger in the races than it is kind of up where you're talking about.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. It's on Narragansett Bay, which is where I do most of my sailing. There's almost either a current going south or the current going north, because the bay's either filling or it's emptying.
Mm-hmm.
and which means in one direction of my day sail, I'm always going to be fighting the current, almost always, unless it turns when I do.
Right.
Yeah. And we get maybe a knot and a half. Some places it might go a little higher than that, but when you're only doing 5 knots, a knot and a half in the opposite direction is percentage wise, it's a big deal.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. But that's what makes all that stuff fun. Hey, Bob, we've been talking about 45 minutes here now.
Really?
Is there anything else that we haven't talked about that you wanted to share with our listeners?
Just don't be afraid to talk to people. If you want to get a ride on their boat, just compliment their boat. Even if you don't like it that much, just say, that's a beautiful boat. And they'll say, oh, come on. Let me show you this. Let me show you that. Want to go for a ride? I said, okay,
Yes.
But
it is amazing how friendly people are because everyone's sort of, not everyone, most people are very proud of their boat. So they love showing it off. And so
yes.
if you show an interest in it, they'll oftentimes, when we were coming up from Florida or Georgia with Mike Malekoff, every time we stopped at a marina, he sort of is thinking about getting a trawler. And so we would walk the docks where the places we'd stay, and we'd find the nicest trawler at the marina.
Yep.
And we'd, try to get a conversation going with the owner. And I think we saw 3 or 4 of them. We got to go on them and look around, and it's sort of a great way of learning about it and getting the owner's perspective of what they like about it, what they don't like about it, etc. So yeah, boaters tend to be very friendly to other boaters.
Yeah, a lot of people I know you're thinking of phasing out of sailing and into a trawler. They want to do the Great Loop. That's what they want to do.
Yes.
So that sounds like a lot of fun too.
Yeah, it does. We met several people who were doing the Great Loop on our trip up from Georgia, and they looked like they were having a lot of fun. All right. So why don't we wrap this up, Bob? Hey, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I really enjoyed our conversation, and maybe have you back next summer or the following year and talk about some of the other trips you've done.
Okay. Sounds great. This has been a lot of fun. And I really enjoy the show. I just got to tell you that.
Well, thank you.
I look forward to the new episodes every week.
Well, thanks. Take care, Bob.
Yeah. Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Great interview, Bela. What were your main takeaways?
So I had a couple, Mike. One is Long Island Sound. It's just this great place to sail. One of the first times I ever went sailing on a bigger boat was with a friend of mine who was a ski patroller like myself. I met him through ski patrolling, and he and his wife had a boat on the southern shore of Connecticut, and he invited Elaine and I down. So this would have been in the 1980s, real early 1980s. Yes, it would have been 1980s. And they had a 30-foot Cape Dory, which, interesting enough, sailboats have gotten bigger and bigger, like everything else in the world have gotten bigger and bigger. So in the 80s, early 80s, a 30-foot sailboat was a good size sailboat. Now it tends to be on the small side, specifically here in the United States. So anyway, we got on his boat on Friday night. We slept on it Friday night at a mooring right at his yacht club. We sailed across Long Island Sound on Saturday and anchored in Oyster Bay, which is on the north shore of Long Island. And then on Sunday, we turned around and sailed back to the south shore of Connecticut. And that was my really first experience in sort of a bigger boat. And I remember being really impressed with Long Island Sound. A lot of nice places to stop, a lot of good sailing. The wind is pretty good. It doesn't get super rough out there because you're sort of protected almost on all sides from any, like super big waves. Not saying it doesn't get rough because the wind can certainly bring up big waves, but you don't get the big ocean swells. So just a great place. A lot of really interesting places to explore and check out. Great services, great marinas, etc. So that was sort of one part of it. And the other part that I really enjoyed in my conversation with him, or I wanted to point out to our listeners, is this notion of being crew on a delivery. And it's a great way to get experience. I mean, fundamentally, for those of you who listen to the podcast, I've been doing this series of helping Mike Malekoff move his boat. And so I was part of a delivery. I was part of the delivery crew. It was just Mike and I. But there are people who do this for a living, and they're often looking for crew members. So there's a great kind of migration of boats from New England down south, particularly once hurricane season is over. So the months of October, November, December. And then there's a migration of boats north from the Caribbean up to New England in April, May, and June. There's also migrations from United States to Europe and from Europe back to the United States or the Bahamas and the Caribbean. So those are great ways to get some experience on someone else's boat. There are several sort of clearinghouse websites where you can connect with captains who are looking for crew members. And as Bob mentioned, typically, they sort of pick up your expenses. They'll pay for food. You're probably not going to get paid, but it's a great way to get some experience. So, and Bob had a friend who did that, so I think that made it even nicer. So those were two things that I thought were interesting. What about you, Mike? What had captured your interest?
Just to add on to the delivery thing, and I love how he found these cool, interesting boats, right, that he was interested in learning more about, right, or to kind of get a feel for what's new in the industry and things like this. I thought it's a really neat way to kind of get on a boat too that you might not normally get to experience. So I thought that was brilliant. I thought that's probably something that maybe all the listeners have thought about that, but that's a neat idea if somebody's looking to do something interesting, has a little bit of time and a little bit of you got to be, I guess, a little bit assertive. But people as we said, people in the docks are nice and people like to help, and it was a really interesting story, I thought. And I agreed with the kind of the stories about Long Island Sound. Seems like a great place to explore and nice nature and near some neat places to go see and visit. And that really reconciles with kind of my recollections as a kid. I had a bunch of relatives that lived on Long Island, and kind of exploring around that side from the land side of the world is really nice. So I thought that was really good. And I really liked the conversation you two had about the sales. And we've talked a little bit about your niche sales before, but maybe that's something we can dive a little deeper into in some future podcast episodes, is really kind of talking about the way sales are made and the different options that people have. So I thought that was really interesting. But I think the thing that really kind of got me thinking most, Bela, and again, this is probably something that experienced sailors have thought a lot about. But I have a lot of friends that sail, and many like you keep their boats at a marina, and they pay money to that. And you've really convinced me over the years and describing that, of what a really cool value that is, and how much it's really been really a great way for you to keep your boat, especially because you don't live close by it and all the exchange privileges and things like that. So, that's been really interesting to learn about the benefits of a marina and what you should look for when you're trying to find a place to put your boat. And I also have friends that belong to yacht clubs, but I've never in my mind really did this comparison. And I thought it was really interesting to hear Bob talk about his yacht club. And we're big believers here in Germany in these idea of these social clubs, right? And like a yacht club where people join, and it's a place, not only to share a common interest, but it's really a place to socialize and a place to really meet people and to kind of share a passion for something. So maybe can you summarize from your perspective? And again, I think our listeners will have maybe some strong opinions on this, but what are the pros and cons of yacht club versus marina, right? In a nutshell.
Well, I'll try, because I think that's a complicated question. So I used to belong to a yacht club. So when we bought our first sailboat, a Catalina 22, we were members of the Chelsea Yacht Club down in New Hamburg, New York, on the Hudson River. And it was what I would describe as a working or co-op type of yacht club. So the members sort of did the work. I think the dues it was a couple $100 a year. So it was pretty cheap. And that included a mooring. So you got a mooring in the Hudson River, place to tie your boat up. They had a dock that you could come into. They had a clubhouse. They had some nice picnic grounds, and they had a bunch of social events. Every spring we had like a weekend where all the members would come down and clean up the yard and the place and inspect all the moorings. And every fall, get the place shut down for the winter. And that was we were members there for a number of years before we moved to California. And that was great. It worked out very well, very social, and low cost. It was much cheaper than getting a marina and keeping the boat at a marina. When we moved to California, we kept the boat at a marina on Folsom Lake, and which is in Northern California. And there, that was sort of another perspective for us, because there wasn't much to do other than pay the bill and a place to keep your boat. And there too, like within the marina, they had like a club that was I won't say sanctioned or endorsed, but the marina let it happen. It was fine. And that club sort of sponsored races like twice a week, like on Sunday afternoons or Sunday mornings, I can't remember, and then like Wednesday nights. And it was very much had this racing focus of, racing your sailboat. So I think there's a wide spectrum. Now, the interesting thing to me is there's a flavor for everyone, from these kind of member-driven, members doing the work, very low cost, all the way up to the Corinthian Yacht Club in San Francisco, which probably cost a couple $100,000 a year just to be a member, right? So you have a wide spectrum. And I think you got to figure out what works for you, not just from a financial perspective, but this notion of, some are focused on social aspects of it. And it's really a social club that people happen to sail at. And many of those, you don't even have to have a sailboat to be a member. And some are very much focused on competition and sailing. And they're really into that. Some are much more into cruising, meaning they're going to have every weekend, they're going to have a trip someplace, or, maybe 2 a month or whatever. They're going to get together, and if you want to join the trip, you join the trip. And, 4 or 5 sailboats will leave on a Saturday morning, sail to some destination, stay there, and then Sunday come back, and then maybe do a couple of week-long cruises during the summer as well. And some are very much just focused on eating and drinking, around the clubhouse. And the interesting thing about Bob's that I didn't know about the Baldwin Yacht Club is they don't have a physical building. It's sort of a virtual club. I had never heard of that before. And if you think about it, that's fine. That works. You don't need to have a building. So I think it's a wide spectrum. And that made me think, here, there's a lake real close to our house up here called Saratoga Lake. It's maybe 2 miles in diameter or something. It's not a very big lake, but they have a sailing club on the lake. And they have a nice clubhouse, an old building, which I think used to be a farmhouse on the lake, years ago, that they sort of restored. And they have little boats on there, and they do a lot of races. They have races a couple nights a week. So I think figure out what works for you, what you're looking for, and what you're looking for today may be different in 10 years. And then you can change yacht clubs, right? So it's not like once you join, you can't switch to others. Now, the other interesting thing is just like our marina, since we're part of this safe harbor family of marinas, has reciprocal. I can go to other safe harbor marinas and stay there for free. Many yacht clubs have reciprocal agreements with other yacht clubs. So if the yacht club has docks or moorings, you can, if space is available, they'll exchange, they'll let you stay there, a night or two at their yacht club. And so that's also a potential added benefit. Yeah. So I think I rambled on there a little bit, but I think that's sort of how I think about it.
Yeah, no, I like it. So explore your options, keep an open mind, figure out what your needs are and what what's valuable to you, and then do kind of the price to value comparison and figure out what's best for you. And don't feel like you're locked in. But I know that's fascinating because different people do different things, and right, there isn't one size fits all. So, but interesting conversation, and maybe some listeners have some stronger feelings about this. But yeah, really interesting conversation, really interesting topics. What do you think?
Yeah, and I think one other quick thing. Every place I've ever been has yacht clubs. Even on Narragansett Bay, where we're at, down in Newport, there's the New York Yacht Club, which is sort of the high end of the spectrum. And up the northern end of the lake bay, where we are, there's several small yacht clubs. So my point is, a lot of this has to do with where you want to keep your boat. And almost any place you want to keep your boat physically, because that's convenient for you, you can probably find a yacht club. It may be a virtual yacht club, or it may be a physical yacht club. And so don't think you have to keep it in a marina, is my point. Explore the yacht club option. In some places, there may be a waiting list. It may take you a year or two to get in, or it may take you a year or two to be able to get a slip. But that's also true of marinas. Like our marinas packed to the gills and there's no slips available. So if you want to get into our marina right now, you got to wait till someone leaves. So anyway, just don't think about just marinas. I think the thing I want to close with, think about yacht clubs also as an alternative, a place to keep your boat, and one that's probably even more social and has more sort of events that if you sort of know what you want, than a regular marina does.
Nice. Well, I think that's a good time to wrap it up. Listeners, thanks for joining us for yet another episode. We hope you found our conversation interesting and thought-provoking. And as always, if you have questions about what we've discussed, please feel free to get in touch with us. Our email is sailingtheeast, that's all one word, @gmail.com.
And if you enjoyed the podcast, hit that like button on your favorite podcasting application. The podcast is also now on YouTube, so you're welcome to enjoy it there as well. So that's it for today's episode. I hope to see you out there soon. So until next time, signing off from upstate New York. See you all soon.
And from over here in Münster, Germany, thanks for listening, and we hope to see you for the next episode.